I got broads in Atlanta, just to lean the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van.
What's up, bros and hoes, or whatever floats your goat? It's your boy Relentless here, and today I'm bringing you yet another build video. And in this video, we'll be going over the Banshee Beast build multi. And the reason I say multi Banshee Beast build is because there are several ways that this build can be implemented, and we'll be going over several of them today. Thus the multiple in the title. Whether it be different pieces going in and out, utilizing whatever is at your disposal, depending on the situation you are in, regardless of the weapon type. We'll be going over each individual weapon slot as far as your SMGs, your ARs, and your LMGs. Also, along with that, we'll be going over, and I will shoot a screenshot of the overall values that every gear piece that you have equipped, the maxed armor stats you can have on each piece. And we'll be going over that and discussing that. So without any further ado, let's jump into this awesome video. And if you think it's awesome and you enjoyed the content, please grab and pound that like button. But let's jump right into it. As you can see, starting off the bat, this is more a damage-based build. We'll start with the gear first, then we'll move on to the weapons. But after we get through with this first set, we'll go over the multiple changes of the different variations of this build that can be implemented. So first, starting off, we'll start off with our chest piece. Is it a high end? Is it vigorous? I know you're probably thinking it's vigorous, but no. It's the Barrett's Bulletproof Vest. And on this vest, we'll go over talents. No skills on cooldown increases skill power by 10%. One skill on cooldown increases damage by 5%. Two skills on cooldown increases armor by 10%. And I got a pretty decent armor roll. This is the way it dropped, 1188. It dropped with armor, 1151. I think the max value is around 1263, somewhere around in there. And it had health on a kill, and I opted out the health on the kill for the exotic damage resilience. To be honest, and to be personally honest and straight up forward, maybe I should have left that on and could have left that on and went for the ammo capacity instead, and that would make this build even more viable. But that'll all change once, you know, the gear sets that I have, or gear pieces that I have equipped right now, that better ones are available, and I'm pretty sure with the way that I grind that they will be available. So what's in my mod slots? I have 261 stamina plus 271 armor in both slots, and I found instead of rolling over and over and over a stamina blueprint, which is, you know, I've only been able to find the electronics and the firearms, but this came in at the 42nd Street East checkpoint going into the DZ. I picked up quite a few of these little nice beauties because it was a very high stamina and a very high armor. 261 and 271 can't really be beat. Going on to the mask, we have stamina rolled on it with damage to elites and enemy armor damage. It had a really low stamina roll, and I opted to swap that out because actually I gained 150 stamina from re-rolling it, so it worked out quite nice. The enemy armor damage on anything that you can get enemy armor damage on is a home run and is a great thing to spend into on a minor attribute slot. That is provided that you already have a good roll on the main stat, whether it be firearms or stamina or electronics, which one you'd be going for. And if I was able to, I would roll off the damage to elites for either skill power, crit chance, or more exotic damage resilience. I look at it this way. I think the most value that you can get for the bang for your buck, when it comes personally, I get a lot of 3.5% crit hit chance. And 3.5% crit chance is not really that great compared to, say, 10k on skill power. And in this slot, I think you get more out of the 10k skill power than you would the 3.5% crit hit chance. But if you have no other gear with EDR and you run into a group of people using stickies or seeker mines, EDR does come in quite handy in a tricky situation when you are involved in something like that. But the mod slot, another one of them great mods, stamina with the armor. And while I'm here, let's go over the talents for Banshee. The 2-piece talent is 20% looted DZ funds. The 3-piece, 10% damage to target out of cover. The 4-piece, while rogue, all ammo is completely refilled every 30 seconds. Damage taken from non-rogue players reduced by 10%. While not rogue, damage to rogue players increased by 10%. No dark zone XP or currency is lost during death. Which is if you enjoy PvP and going rogue, and you like joining being in a group, this will be fitting quite nicely in a group setting, but also can be ran solo within DZ if that's something you more prefer, or just, like lone wolfing it, or just don't have anybody on to jump on with. And we'll go over the other variations, because as you can see, my toughness is only 375. But as you'll see in a minute, it's interchangeable with these gear pieces that I have set in place. And if you need to be a little more tanky in certain situations, but yet still put down a lot of damage, then you'll still be able to do that, and I'll show you the reasons why. But let's move on to the knee pads. 1153 firearms, not too bad. Only about 120 off the maxed out stats for any main stat. And as always, as far as when it comes to chest pieces, backpacks, knee pads, and holsters, pretty much all across the board, roll armor on them. And no matter what the main stat is or the minor stats are, if it doesn't have armor on it, then you have to put and roll armor on it, and just use whatever is at your disposal until you find a better piece, especially if you really like that. And as you can see, I got 1202 in armor, which is a really good armor roll that I got off of it. Shock resistance, increased kill XP. I mean, it does 50%. I mean, that's a good chunk if you're going for Dark Zone funds to purchase more blueprints, weapons, or whatever you may need from the vendors or the safe rooms. And one of the most important things to this build, that 10% enemy armor damage. In the main slots, as you can see, 262 stamina, 272 armor, and a 6% first aid self-heal. And that first aid self-heal comes in handy. I have 2 of them, and then 2% plus pulse critical hit chance. I have 2 of them in, so a total of 4. So that works out quite nice when I'm running my concealed pulse. The extra 5% makes up for the lack of skill power that is not on the mask for now. If I had skill power on the mask, that's another 8 to 10k. So anywhere between 92 to 94 to 95 k skill power, which would be a lot better in my opinion. So that way, you get your heals and your concealed back, because on this particular build you'll be running concealed and booster shot, if not just straight up overdose. But in this case it'd be booster shot, because you get the most value out of it, because you get the damage resilience, and also you get the damage buff. On the backpack, like I said, armor and burn resistance and the minor attribute. Like I said, if you can, or it's available to you, and you already got good rolls as far as armor and on a main stat, then you would want ammo capacity either on a Banshee build or Alpha Bridge build, at least on one piece in particular, because that would give you around 13 to 1400 rounds in each weapon. But with the 4-piece, I mean, it kind of works in nicely. But that's generally the general consensus, and I think all across every content creator will agree that if you can get it and you already have nice rolls on everything else, then the ammo capacity option is very viable here. All right, going on to the gloves. Savage gloves. I got 1224 in stamina. Nice roll. And pretty much, as we all know, Savage gives you critical hit chance increased by 7% against targets out of cover. That goes hand in hand with the damage bonus and buff that you get from the Banshee for targets out of cover. And on this particular pair, it's a home run, because that's an additional crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and LMG damage. And LMGs already have the baked in targets out of cover buff. So you get the flat damage off the LMG damage on your gloves. You got the crit chance, the crit damage, and then you get the buff off the Banshee gear piece. which is another 10%. So if you add all that up, you're getting an additional. I'll show you, because I actually have an LMG here. So this is 14%, and then if you add all that together, that's 10, that's 24. So around 30% damage buff just on those alone. And as you can see while I'm here, yeah, I got Deadly, Vicious, and Unforgiving on my LMG with 19.k base flat damage. But we'll jump back into that in a second. Let's move on to the holster. Now this is a pretty crappy holster for the most part, just because of that low crappy stamina roll. And it had decent firearms and great electronics roll on it. Almost, top tier god roll electronics. And if it was 1266 across the board, that would be definitely locked in as a favorite, and I wouldn't be getting rid of it. But since it doesn't, I had to roll armor on it because that's just the way things are. And since 1.4, it's armor. And but at least the firearms is over 1200, but the stamina is really lacking. That's 200. That's basically a whole mod in a mod slot that I'm losing on stamina. So once a better holster comes available, this will be interchanged out. I rest assure you, because that 200 would come in handy, and that would put me around probably 385, 390 at least toughness. So even with this route, it would work out a whole lot better. But you can change out the Barrett's chest piece. But all these play a vital role between the 3-piece talent of the Banshee, the out of cover, and then you got the LMG with the out of cover, and then you got the flat damage coming off the gloves, going straight to the LMG, so it makes it really hard hitting. And then if you have one skill on cooldown, such as you pulse them, you're shooting down range, that's an additional 5% damage stacked on top of that. So with the 5% damage, and we'll just say an average of 25% extra damage on top of this, and my military M60 that I'm using here already has 19.8. So we'll just round it off to 20. And if you take 20% and 10% of 20, so that's basically you're getting another 5k damage stacked on top of this. So that's around 24k to 24.5k damage that you're actually doing downrange. And as I said, I have Deadly, Vicious, and Unforgiving. I'd rather swap out this Deadly for either Brutal or something along that lines. Or if I had Brutal in the top slot, maybe Competent in the bottom. But for PvP situations, the Unforgiving comes in very nice when accompanied by all this other out of cover and flat damage from the gloves. And then for one mixing health segment, you get another damage bonus that even jacks that damage up even further. So basically, you're putting a lot of damage down range. Because if you're just missing one missing health segment, an additional 10% of your base damage is getting, so that puts you up to at least 26k. So, and then if you get down to one missing health segment, that's a 25% buff. So now we're reaching around 28 to 29k base flat damage, when the perfect situation, in which is, you're face trading or, mid-range and they're not in cover, and then you get all this out of cover damage buff, and then, your Unforgiving procs, you're going to be doing a lot of serious damage downrange. And on my magazine, I have reload speed, crit hit damage, and 10.7 rate of fire. On my optics, I have headshot damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. My muzzle, I have 17% crit hit damage, stability, headshot damage, and reduced threat. And what's most important, especially in PvP situations when it comes to the M60s and the large magazine LMGs, is the reload speed. And as you can see, that 30.5% reload speed. And then you add another 4.5% reload speed, so 35% reload speed baked in on my mods. It comes in really, really good on PvP situations. On my lightweight M4, it's got 17k base flat damage with brutal, vicious, and fierce. Also, I have this nice ACR down here. It doesn't have quite the RPMs, but with a rate of fire mag, you usually get about the same base rate of fire as a MP5 would have, such as this one, around 800 RPMs, which comes in really good. And I can always switch it out, but I opted in this way because of the additional crit hit chance, because this is basically a damage dealing build. And on my lightweight M4, I have magazine size, reload speed, rate of fire, 17% crit hit damage, 5% headshot damage, 2% accuracy, 13% stability, 5% headshot damage, 4% crit hit damage. Large underbarrel with 18% crit hit damage, 2% accuracy, and 2.5% stability. Which is comes down to 20.5% crit hit chance, 79% crit hit damage, 98% headshot damage. I'm doing a 38% enemy armor damage, and you divide that by 3, and you're getting around 12% enemy armor damage in PvP situations. So it comes in quite nicely with everything else that is cooked into this build that we've already went over. So it makes it a great damage dealer and good and viable in PvP situations. The armor is 51.89%. I'd say it's in a good area, but it's not where I'd want it to be. I'd like it to be at least 52.5% to 53%, if not more. But as we're about to go over, there's different variations of this build that you can use if you want to be a little more tankier. But you can see that 75% increased kill XP, that comes in handy if you're just trying to rank up, but who cares about ranking the DZ as long as you're at a certain rank to where you can buy whatever you want to buy, and that everything in the safe rooms are unlocked. So instead of that, I'd rather, like I said, ammo capacity or something else that'll be more viable. But back to the gear. Instead of the Barrett's chest piece, if you want to be a little more tankier, you can go with a vigorous chest piece. I have 2 different ones here. One has exotic damage resilience, and then one does not. It has damage to elites. But it has the ammo capacity just like this one has ammo capacity. And the reason why I have this one equipped, or can equip this one, is if you do come into a situation to where you're in the DZ, and a lot of people, you got a group of people you're in the secret mines or the sticky bombs, even though they've got a little bit of nerf, that you still get significant bleed damage and still take a good chunk of damage from you. So it does play in factor of having some kind of something you can switch to. If you died and as soon as you spawn in a safe room or safe house, you can easily have already in your stash or your box, and you can just switch out these pieces interchangeably, and it can work out really nicely to your advantage. And let's say you want to take it one step further, you can switch these Banshee gloves, and as you can see, they're almost identical, just a little less on stamina. And it has crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and LMG damage. You can go here, and then you can also go here. Tenacious Mask. So we still have 4-piece Banshee, but we have now Tenacious and Vigorous. As you can see, our skill power, we got almost 94k skill power. We still have over 5k firearms. All our talents are still unlocked. We've lost like about 800 on flat damage, but also we've gained, every time we used a med kit, we gained a 10-second 10% damage buff just for using a med kit. So if you throw that back into it, then instead of losing that 800, you're actually gaining an 800 off of it, if you want to look at it that way, versus just running a regular mask and savage gloves. I'm still getting the base flat damage from my gloves. I'm just not getting the crit hit chance from the savage. But this is a nice on top of booster shot. If you hit booster shot along with right after a med kit, you can kind of trigger them and time them just right to where you have a constant damage buff coming to you. And then after they're out of the cover, like I've explained recently, just previously, that all this flat damage and all these proc bonuses come in really nice in PvP situations. And if I could do a interview with a half a dozen people just this afternoon with this build in the DZ, they would tell you that be prepared to really get in a sticky situation if you come try to pick at me. Because I'm not going down by myself. I'm taking several of you with me. You better be well coordinated and have everything on point, because if you're with a team and your team lacks communication or the coordination between your builds, yeah, you're going to have a tough time with me, because I know what I'm doing. Well, most of the time. We'll just say that. Sometimes I'll get on a power trip while hanging out with Lucky Larry and the DZPD to where, I may not have all my senses with me. But yeah. So, and also if you wanted to go Banshee instead of Vigorous and run Tenacious Savage, that is also a option. And as you can see, if you take out the stamina and armor mods, and I'll do that now, so you'll be able to see. Put these nice stamina and armor mods back in here. So if you wanted to even go this route and didn't want to even run the Barrett's chest piece or the bigger chest piece, because let's face it, the way that the division is, I mean, there's some things that drop like, flies, and there's other things you just can't seem to get dropped that have good rolls on them. But I've been fortunate to have all these pieces that I can interchange with this build, and it works out quite nice, and it's very diverse in depending on whatever situation. Do you want to PvE? Do you want to PvP? It's good to have all these things at your disposal, and I have yet to try out all of the different variations, but I mean, I've tried out majority of them, and they basically all work the same. Just depending on, you got to be aware of what you actually have equipped as far as your talents on your guns, your talents on your gear pieces that you have, such as the high ends that you have equipped, because between running the Barretts, and then the Vigorous, and then just running Tenacious Savage, you just got to be aware of exactly what you're running, and don't be thinking, well, I'm running the Barrett's chest piece. So if I'm popping, got both skills on cooldown, then I get an armor buff. If I have no skills on cooldown, I get a 10% skill power buff, so that comes in handy. And let's face it, if you're up with this build and you just want to be, for the sake of being honest, let's just say you're in the DZ and you just want to be a complete dick. Pop your booster shot, you get the extra 10%. So you're getting a nice chunk of health from your booster shot, plus with your 12% first aid self heals. So you're going to get a nice chunk of your overheal, pretty much all of it. And then you're going to get that increased damage buff along with that, along with the out of cover and all these other talents and procs. And you're going to be doing a hell of a lot sustained damage right at somebody's noggin. And even with an LMG or this AR or even this SMG, this MP5ST that I have with responsive, deadly, and vicious, they're not going to know what hit them. Basically, they're going to do what I just did. They're going to get that high squeaky pitch as soon as you start laying into them and be like, what the fuck was that? So, yeah. In every situation, always be prepared for whatever you run into. And with this build, it's so diverse, and if you have these pieces that are interchangeable, depending on the situation, let's say you feel like you're not doing enough damage, and they're a lot tankier, then, switch back to the Barrett's chest piece, run the Savage, and just, lay into them. Or if you wanted to even take a step further and wanted to run it this way, there's so many different ways, and if you have all these pieces, this works out on all gear sets as well. As you already know. See, I'm 10k less in health, but I still have the Tenacious. I still have the damage buff for that. I'm still putting down range, all this flat damage, everything else. So like I said, it just basically depends on what you want to go to. As far as base damage buffs, This way will work out really well. Because, I mean, after, 10 seconds of your booster shot, then you pop a med kit where you're taking damage, and then you get another damage buff. And since you have a 100-round magazine, if not, a 200-round magazine, depending on your personal preference of how you want to run it, you're going to be doing a consistent at least 20 seconds pure out, nothing but damage buffs. And then with, the 25%, and that's going low. It's really at 27, 28% overall out of cover damage coming from this. If you factor in all that on top of it, I mean, you're hitting them with every bullet like a ton of bricks. So it comes out really great and really well. So I hope you enjoyed this build and you have seen firsthand all the different variations of what you can do. And there's only one basically that I really didn't go over that's more viable for this build and this setup for me. We'll be running, specialized and vigorous. And if I had a specialized backpack, that would go out nicely with this, but unfortunately I don't, so that's why I don't have it in here. So I mean that'd be like the fifth way, since we already went over 4 different ways, and really if you think about it and the different ways you can switch things in and out, just with what I've shown you, it's been really more than that. But just think specialized tenacious, specialized savage, specialized Barrett's. Even if you want to be a little more tankier and say you're doing PvE, you want to be in a little cover, then there's always robust. But if you're going to go that way, then I wouldn't go robust. I would go back to putting on the Banshee gloves and then maybe putting on a sturdy holster, because you're going to be planning on shooting while in cover longer. So that'll give you, a nice armor buff while you're in cover. So there's so many multiple ways. And for the overall values of what you can get, as far as the highest rolls on gear, as far as when it comes to the armor on all your gear pieces, I'll post up that screenshot on the screen now. Bam! So all these are the armor caps. The highest potential of the gear pieces in each slot when it comes to chest piece, backpack, mask, gloves, and knee pads. The chest is 3266, and that's 2003 with no armor on it, but you can roll 1263 armor on it with a total value of 3266. Will be the max armor you can obtain on a chest piece without putting in the armor on the mod slots, which is, if you have some great ones like I do, that's another, 500, at least 542 if you just have the ones I have. So that'll be a total armor of almost 4K armor on your chest piece. And the backpack is 2293. The mask is 1001. The gloves are 1001. The knee pads are 2932, and the holster is 1674. So you can base it off this pick that I have up and look at your on gear sets and gear pieces, and you can factor in on the things you can improve to get it to the best min-max point that you can possibly get it. And I hope this has helped you out, and you can use this as a guide on all things armor when it comes to the gear pieces that are interchangeable in whatever build you may be running. And I hope this has really worked out for you and you enjoyed the video, and I hope I've been informative as possible, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if so, please ground and pound that like button, and be sure to check out Upper Echelon Gaming, their Facebook community on all things Division. Awesome community. We have some talented artists on there for as far as Division art, discussing build theories, UE Sanctionite's theory crafting videos and his builds and his PvP live streams or whatnot. Anything you can possibly imagine when it comes to the Division. The DZ911, if you're a member of the community and you're running solo and you're getting griefed, then we have a system in place on our Discord server, which is that description is in the link in the description below. The Upper Echelon Gaming Discord server, to where you can go on there and you can type in and call for help at an extraction or whether it be griefing at a checkpoint. And there will be other agents in the community that will come and assist you with the griefers or to help you extract. So all these things are part of the Upper Echelon Gaming community, and their link is in the description below for their Facebook page and also for their Discord. I advise you, if you're a hardcore grinder and game player like I am when it comes to Division, you should want to check them out. It's an awesome experience, and I highly recommend it. But as this is always your boy Relentless, and that's all that I have today. I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, if you have, I can't express it enough. I appreciate all your support, and if you have any comments or any suggestions on future videos, or what you may like to see, whether it might be challenges in the DZ or challenges on PBE, no matter what it is. If you can think of it, just post them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to tackle them and get them out and do that for you. And since I'm now on both consoles, I can bring you faster content and better content as soon as things are released. Since Xbox does get it 30 days before PS4 does. But either or, hit me up online, or you can drop me a message on Facebook. I'm a member of the Upper Echelon Gaming community. I'm always on there. So hit me up with an invite, hit me up with a friend request. The gamer tag is the same, as you can see on screen. It's Relentless XRG, as you see at the top. But yeah, now I just like 2 other pieces for the other console, and I'm about to hop on it now and do some grinding on it and build up my gear. But y'all have a good one, and I hope you enjoyed the video.